Thank you everyone for staying in tune with us. Growing number of educators contend that online teacher professional development has the potential to enhance and transform teachers' effectiveness in their classroom and generally also over the course of their career. So to discuss and debate this topic, we've got a great lineup of speakers today who will be sharing insights on this very important topic. If you do have any questions for the panel, we have a live Q&A at the end of 15 minutes of this session. So feel free to put them under the live discussion questions tab. Now, without further ado, I would like to pass my time to Alex, who's our moderator for today. Over to you, Alex.
Thank you, Preeti, and good afternoon, everybody. Yes, we have a tremendous wealth of knowledge here and experience sharing this panel with us. And I'd like to invite, without any further ado, Stephen. So we're going to our first round of introductions. Please, Stephen.
Hello everyone, my name's Stephen Colbert. I'm based in Melbourne, Australia. We've only just left lockdown, so that's a very exciting time for us. At my school, I work with literacy intervention, so helping those students most in need. And I'm kind of, I'd like to think of myself as a global leader in instructional videos. So I make YouTube videos and I teach people how to make YouTube videos and all those sort of things. But that's my primary thing. And as a result, I'm engaged in a lot of professional learning. So keen to hear what we come to today.
Thank you, Stephen. And next, I'd like to invite Ms. Pratibha to introduce yourself, please.
Hello, everyone. I'm Pratibha Kohli. I am principal of Maharaja Agrasen Model School. We are in Delhi. And I'm also a professional online trainer. I have taken capacity building programs for teachers, and I'm really looking forward to very healthy and learning discussion with all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Pratibha. Next, I'd like to invite our next speaker, Slava, to introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Slava Matveus, and I'm head of the Design Technology Department and the American International School in Kuwait. So my main responsibility, of course, is to look after the Design Technology Department. But anyway, so I'm participating as well. So in many aspects of technology implementation, integration, and helping with the professional development and looking after several systems that helping us to navigate in the curricula, activities design and learning design, and looking forward to talk to you today and share our experience. But anyway, so if you have any questions, feel free. Thank you.
Thank you. And we have here with us Jay.
Good afternoon. My name is Jay Thompson, and I've been in Singapore for the last 6 years. I'm the head of primary at an international school in Myanmar, but prior to that, I've been working in Director of EdTech and Innovation. So it's actually really nice to be able to combine those two areas, because I think, especially with this current situation, those EdTech skills are all the more important. So yeah, really interested to chat about this topic, because I think it's something that's an area that we're all having to deal with at the moment and constantly changing. So I'm very excited to have a chat with everybody.
Thank you, Jay. And Jay, I'd like to invite you to start with the very first question. You talked that we have the challenges of the pandemic and COVID-19. And I'd like to know your insights and thoughts on how we can ensure a better or deeper collaboration between teachers in an online environment.
Yeah, I think one of the problems that we have with online PD is that we often forget about all those great things that go with offline PD. And so one of the things we always have to draw ourselves back to is the fact that the focus always has to be on improving learning outcomes. And I think we need to have that front and center, because sometimes we sort of lose that focus when we're working online, because we're confronted with all these technological problems, technological possibilities, and actually what we need to do is just take that moment to sit down and reflect on how we're going to improve those learning outcomes. So once we've got that in the back of our mind, what we need to really think about is changing our teachers' mindset from one of professional development being a thing that we do, and changing that to being a way that we think. And so there's 4 key things that we've been focusing on at Network School in order to support that deeper collaboration in an online environment and to be able to pivot and transition to an offline environment. So the 4 things that are really important, I think, are the first one is what we're doing online and offline helping to develop that growth mindset? We want our staff to be able to look at how are they growing, how are they getting better, how are they going to be the best possible educator they can be. So what I want my staff to be thinking is, am I out teaching my best teaching? So it's not about outperforming other people, it's about how am I doing myself, and always trying to challenge myself. And in an online environment, that's sometimes hard because, you know, we're confronted with all these other areas that we need to think about. So growth mindset, really important. I think we also need to look at what are those ways that we're providing intrinsic motivation for our staff, because we want them to find things interesting and we want them to do it. And frankly, doing it online, doing it virtually on Zoom is a bore. I know my teachers who are in Myanmar at the moment, we're currently still in lockdown, and they've been in lockdown since March. And so they're zoomed out. They don't want to be in front of the computer. They're stressed about being in front of the computer. So how do we provide that motivation intrinsically to keep them interested? And that's some things I'll share a little bit later on. Also, I think we want it to be sustainable. So we want them to have sustainable autonomy. And I think these two link together, because what we want to set up in an online environment is time and opportunities for staff to do their own professional learning journey. We don't necessarily want those one-off sessions that we set and forget. We want them ongoing research and sort of undertaking a journey that's right for them.
Okay, thank you, Jay. Very insightful. And following up on your answer, I'd like to invite Slava to referring to your statement that PD is not something we do, it's something that has to shift mindset and has to be permanent, and it is something that we need to be thoughtful of and consider the screen time. So Slava, how does the virtual professional development look like at your school? What platforms you use, or how you moved to the virtual PD?
Thank you, Alexander. So actually, this is the question I have been working with for the last 15 years, and in my previous schools as well. So we were looking at a lot of platforms, a lot of very interesting approaches, how to make it more consistent and efficient for teachers. And one thing that actually we understood over the time, and I've been working at this school as well. So we established some certain norms of excellence for online learning. So, and using platforms. So we understood and agreed that actually online is the platform that we are working on. It's not the pedagogy. So, and we need to understand that. So, and every environment that we are working with has its strengths as well. So, and weaknesses. So, and there is no silver bullet, you know, for anything. So any platform might be, you know, just with the cons and pros. So, and we need to stick to one platform, everybody, where everybody knows where to go, what to do, what expectations are. So, and I want to actually also second Jay, so saying that we need to design for learning. So we need to design our platform for learning, not for teaching, right? So because if our students are learning, we are learning as well. So because we are co-learners at the same time. So, and we need to design for outcomes, not content, because many teachers are confusing a little bit. They're trying to cover a lot of content, but forgetting about the outcome. So, and we need to agree on that. So in the professional development, we know that actually it's paramount of everything. So if we are not working with our teachers, so our faculty staff, so it's going to fail actually, because you know that's a main punchline. So other thing in the platforms that we're using, we're trying to maintain consistent expectations, so that everybody actually working on the same line. So there is no, running from left to right. So there is unknown every day. So, and confusing students and our colleagues. So there should be written down from the administration as well. So some rules, expectations, and some proper resources in these platforms. And the relationships are everything. Relationships are everything. So we need to contend, even though in our school right now, so we are on the virtual platforms and we are sitting in our classrooms, we don't see sometimes our colleagues, we need to maintain those relationships. And so in this school, what I would also recommend to all of you guys, that keep one platform for those activities. For example, we are Microsoft school, we are keeping Teams for all those stuff. And let me tell you, every system has, as I said, strengths and weaknesses. So, and so far, keeping Microsoft Teams and OneNote and all compatible software together, it makes great difference. Apart from the moment where, for example, in my previous experience, we were jumping from one platform to another. So, and it's confused everybody. So, and we need to understand that the efficiency or our colleagues' savviness in technology might be different. So, and if you are keeping it in one specific platforms like we are in the Microsoft Teams, so it makes so much easier to find the information, to find the place where all the resources are, to find the way to connect at any time. So plus, great compatibility with the mailing system, with the note-taking, with all those stuff. So, I mean, I'm not right now telling you that you need to jump on Microsoft right away, but what my suggestion is to pick one platform, stay away from diversity in professional development. That makes you great service, and your faculty will tell you thank you for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Slava. And that's very important. I believe we all agree with you that consistency is really important all the time, especially now. And using what you have, if you're a Google school or if we are a Microsoft or an Apple school, using the tools we have available is a very important backbone to our online process. And speaking of that, Pratibha, when you look at all the ups and downs and the pros and cons of teaching online, and also having your faculty with the professional development online, which benefits or drawbacks have you encountered in the online professional development?
Thank you for the question. Our country had the lockdown in March. We were so much unprepared for the lockdown, and we immediately took on online learning. And we realized that if teachers need to teach online, then they need to be trained online. So our entire training for teaching online was in fact done online, and teachers were learning online. So what I mean to say is that if we want our teachers to take up online teaching, then they have to take up online professional development programs, which is so important. And absolutely, we were all caught unawares by the lockdown. However, I have had in my school lots of professional development programs, and they have been successful. We have taken up synchronous online training programs. We have taken up asynchronous online training programs. Teachers can really benefit from them a lot. And we all know that they don't have to move out of their homes. They are at their homes and they can take up training comfortably. 24/7, we can have the trainings. And of course, it saves a lot of time taking up trainings from your home, and it is very effective. So we had our teachers taking up both synchronous and asynchronous PDPs or professional development programs. However, talking of the cons or the drawbacks, we all know that teachers do need to take up points like experiential learning, skill development, socio-emotional learning with the children. And when they need to take up experiential learning or socio-emotional development, or they need to involve students in taking up experiments, so many other things, then it is required that we need to have a professional development program where teachers meet the trainer face to face. So given the circumstances, yes, we are taking up online professional development programs, but not everything can be taken up by professional development programs. And we do need to see our teachers, we do need to meet our teachers so that they are able to take up a holistic learning experience with the children. So I think it has both good points and bad points given the circumstances. Now we are into online mode, and it has been wonderful for our teachers. Thank you.
Thank you, Pratibha. That was very insightful. And moving forward here, I'd like to invite Stephen to make some comments about what you have noticed revolving PD and online, and what changes have you seen in this almost a year since the pandemic has hit us?
Yeah, it's crazy to think about how long we've been doing it. To me, the first sort of instances of online learning were a pretty good replication of what we had previously. You know, lots of sessions, lots of people at the front, or in this case, you know, in front of their computers, and not much interaction. And, you know, the thing that was most lacking was the sort of the workshop model, where people actually get together and they can share ideas and there's actual input. And I think at the start of thinking back to March, you know, even when I presented or when I ran sessions or similar, it was very monodirectional. One person talking, lots of people listening. And I think over the time, it's become a lot more interactive, just almost out of necessity. Like for me personally, like you really needed to have collaborative, you know, questions in there. You needed to have prompts. You needed to refer to questions from the audience as much as possible, just because at a human level, I guess we need that connection. But in terms of good professional learning, it's best when it's collaborative. And I think a little bit too much the professional learning that was available was kind of provided by big ed tech companies, just because they had the resources and the infrastructure already in place to do those sort of things. And so what was most missing for me, at least in my context, was sort of more authentic, kind of off the cuff, sort of, what have you done in the last week? What have you done in the last month? You know, talk to us about what you've been doing and what's been working. And so a lot of what I had sort of put upon myself to do, I guess, was to, as much as possible, bring together teachers to share their experience of it from their perspective. And we found that to be the most effective, just because we had a group of teachers sharing with one another and a real sort of reciprocal dialogue going back and forth. So I guess the final point, there was a lot of online PD, and a lot of it was free. Pretty much everything was for free, but what you quickly came to realize was that, as with anything, you get what you pay for. And so, you know, experiences like what we're participating in now, having a kind of a team that know what they're doing and know how to run effective PD, bring an audience and bring collaboration. I think it was what Jay was saying, like kind of the in-between sessions where you're picking up a muffin and a coffee and you sort of sidle up next to someone and introduce yourself. A platform like the one we're in now kind of goes some way to sort of recreating that. And so, yeah, I think the changes have been significant. We've learned a lot, but the main thing is making it collaborative and as human as possible.
All right. So thanks, Stephen. And I'd like to invite Jay to make some comments on what you have noticed lately as major changes in the nature or delivery or quality of the PD. As Stephen mentioned, like the quality is an important factor to consider.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting, and I have to agree with what Stephen's saying. I mean, originally our needs were around basic survival. We've got teachers who are at all ends of the technology spectrum. So for some, this was continuing life as normal. They were used to using all of these tools, and for those teachers, it was just a natural shift. However, we've also got those other people at the other end of the spectrum and everywhere in between, where they were just needing to survive. And I think in my particular school, those teachers, it was jump into the deep end, sink or swim, provide whatever on-the-spot PD and support we could give them. And it was really reactionary. Whereas I think now where we're starting to understand the pandemic and the situation, we can start to now focus a little bit more on, well, what's long-term in this for us? Is the pandemic going to finish? Probably not. Are we going to be shifting in and out of schools? Where should we be aiming our PD next? And what should we be doing as teachers so that students can shift from a online environment back to an at-school environment, maybe shift back online, maybe a blended model in between. So I think we kind of need now a bit of a moment to sort of take a breath, for our teachers to breathe, and maybe just use PD time to have a bit of a reflection and a discussion of where are we going, what do we need to do, and how are we going to do that? And I think as a leadership team, sometimes we feel that pressure is on us to make that decision. But actually, I think in this type of environment, in this situation, it's really got to be a collaborative group collective and come together. So I think, technology, tools, conversations, and for those poor schools who are stuck in an online environment and unable to have those conversations face to face, it's a little bit more difficult. But yeah, I think we just need more time to just reflect, take stock, and plan for the future.
Wow, thank you. That's very insightful. Pratibha, I'd like to move to you, and considering everything that has been said up to now, and what Jay just mentioned, that we need to consider what we're doing in terms of PD and take it as a moment of reflection. Pratibha, you are an online professional development deliverer or trainer. So please tell us, in your opinion, or when you plan the delivery of your PD or your sessions, the most important features that you consider or that you try to deliver to those taking training from you.
Yeah, as a professional development trainer, the first thing I do for the teachers is find out the need analysis. So I usually have a questionnaire, and the questionnaire I post to my teachers or the trainees, and they answer the Google form or the Microsoft form. So what happens is I come to know of their needs. I come to know where they need more attention. So rather than just offhand starting training, it is very important that we make a need analysis or a gap analysis, and we find out what are the requirements of the teachers. So that really helps and makes it meaningful for them. Further, as far as possible, trainings should not be a one-man show. It should not be that the trainer is speaking all the time. You must involve participants, you must involve teachers, you must give them time to unmute, speak, think, reflect. Thirdly, one must also use videos, graphics, animations, and not make the sessions mundane and boring, because we know that they wouldn't like to listen to your talk all the time. So we need to have our training like a good dish that is served, which has all the colors. So we should include some videos, some animations, some GIFs, and make it very attractive and interesting for our teachers. Also, we must importantly add the human touch, as was just said. that it is not that we are training people who are just listening. We have to see their needs. We have to see their socio-emotional learning potentials. We have to take up mindfulness during the training. So it is important to know their needs. It is important to know what the teachers require, and hence have a Google form or a Microsoft form or any other form before the training, which really sets the tone and the participants feel that yes, whatever are our concerns, they have been addressed to. So I do keep all these things in mind, and it really helps to have a very, very successful session. Thank you.
All right, so thank you, Pratibha. Stephen, still reflecting on features, and Pratibha mentioned that the videos and the dynamics and how to make it interesting, and this is an area where you are an expert, and that's where you act. So in your opinion, building on what Pratibha has mentioned, what features you find to be the most important or the most relevant for the online PD?
Yeah, for sure. I guess Pratibha's done a really good job. I love the image of a dish of many colors. That's beautiful. So I won't go into too much detail of features to avoid repeating what she's already covered, because that was beautifully put. I'll try and give an example instead. But to me, there's a real difference between pedagogy, so the learning of children, and the learning of adults, andragogy. And so to me, they become quite different. So for my students, I often give them asynchronous, go watch this video and come back and share. For adults, I find it works better to give them choice. So like, for example, I've just spent most of today preparing a session. So there's a kind of introductory session where I kind of sell the why you might like to use video in your teaching, in your professional learning. Then there's some asynchronous content, and I'm asking them as teachers to produce something themselves, and then we'll build in the collaboration there. So it's kind of giving them some choice, some agency, some freedom, and the fact that we will be looking at what they produce rather than for a student, it's much easier to say, watch this, do this, hand in this worksheet, this is the due date. So sort of jumping around a little bit. Something that I've been doing for a couple of years, but that makes a lot more sense now in remote learning is an academic reading group across the world that we read an article every month. And so it's the same group of people. We've got about 57 teachers from around the world participating. And to me, that's the kind of thing that you need. Like, you need a community, a professional learning community or professional learning network. You need a group that's sort of committed at some level to continuing, because quite often professional learning, it's, as Pratibha said, in the worst case, it's one person talking, and even worse, maybe it's a one shot. It happens once, and sort of in a year's time, I think, who was that man or that woman that spoke to us? They had some good ideas, but they never came back, or they never checked in. So it's kind of, you need to develop a community, a group, and sort of build some kind of accountability into the group, where it's like, in a month's time, in a year's time, we'll check back in as a group, and we'll kind of discuss where to next, or where to from here, or what we all learned, and how we can kind of get that collaboration happening going forward. So on top of all Pratibha's excellent points, that's just my little illustration of a dish of many colors, I guess.
Thank you. Jay, Slava, I would like to go to you, and then I'll move to Jay. So Slava, you as a school leader, and thinking about the features of the professional learning and the characteristics, how, in your experience, have you established a culture of PD, and how have you seen this professional development promote interactions within the school?
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Alex. It's a great question. So, and as we know that in virtual reality or virtual environment, so this is kind of a daunting task to stay focused and stay all the time developing your skills and your abilities, your teaching, and out of the 24 hours. So we know that actually teachers are spending a major part actually working with the students, grading or giving feedback, and etc. So for professional development, as also Stephen said, sometimes there is no time, or you are trying to kind of find out who was talking what and where. So, and that's why, so in our school, we have decided that this process should be actually regular, on a regular basis. And we found out that actually this is crucial to make sure that everybody know when and how, and we made it weekly things. For example, so we created kind of the tips and tricks online cafe, 15-minute session every week, so twice a week, and every faculty member can just jump in at the free time, so participate or share or listen. So at the same time, so in our platform, Microsoft platform Teams, you are recording all the sessions, so which means we have this ability to watch again, or we know exactly where those video records are. So we have channels you can drop in at any time. So plus, we know that it takes a village to create something good. So which means the contribution from every faculty member is really crucial. So in our school, we also have one space in OneNote. We call it the playlist, where we are holding all the crucial links, resources, videos, information, forms, documents. And that's also helping a lot, because again, so we need to understand that teachers overloaded, and also some young teachers probably really savvy with technologies. They can navigate in this ocean of information at our fingertips. But we have also teachers who are not maybe so comfortable with technology, and for them it's really important that you creating this schedule, not schedule, but a pattern, so where those teachers knows where to go, what to see, what to click, and they know exactly that every Tuesday, every Thursday. So there's the tips and the tricks online cafe. They can just walk in and just see whatever. So at the same time, so as I said earlier, consistency in this environment is really, really important. So if I know that every Thursday or every Tuesday at 3 p.m., so we have this, so it's written into the schedule, so we have this time. So it's also making so much easier to schedule or navigate your day or week, so or plan weeks ahead. So that's my advice probably for all of the colleagues around the world. Don't try to make it spontaneous randomly, but make it consistent, because your faculty will tell you thank you for that. So, and plus, keep the playlist, as we do, open, valid, relative, on time, and always available for everybody. So that helps a lot in moving forward in professional development. Thank you.
Thank you, Slava. And then now up to you, Jay. I'd like you to piggyback on this, how to establish the regular interactions, and also mention to us what technologies can be used to develop and deliver a good quality PD program.
Yeah, I think it's a really good point, and it's something, having come from an EdTech background, it's something my staff always ask me, what technology should I be using? How should I be integrating these things? And I think, again, back to that very first point, we have to start with the learning outcomes first. Technology should never be the driver. Technology should support those learning outcomes. So once you've got that sort of understanding of what your learning outcomes are, I really recommend using a model or framework to help sort of guide you through that process. For me, in my school, I really like the Tpac model. That it really provides a common language for all the staff to look at and communicate around technology. And so really what the Tpac model looks at is it pulls together the fact that when we're doing PD, we need to have that pedagogical knowledge. So, how are teachers, what's their knowledge of the practices and the processes that they're using. We've also got that content knowledge that they need to know of their specific subject areas. And then we've got the technology knowledge, and that's their ability to use all those tools and platforms. And if you think of it like a Venn diagram, each of these ones sort of stands on their own, but actually right in the middle of that Venn diagram is where we kind of want to aim our PD, where the technology is supporting that content knowledge and that pedagogical knowledge. So what does that mean in terms of using technology? You've really got to, I think, as Slava said before, we've got to harness whatever tools we have in place in the school. We don't want to stress teachers by adding on new platforms. However, if we find that there is a piece of technology, if there's an area that is lacking in the school and a piece of technology can support that, then maybe that is an opportunity to bring that in, but leverage what you already have. And so I think the technology needs to leverage a couple of key areas. The first for me, and I think this was touched on by Slava as well, was that we want to create these micro-learning opportunities, especially when we're online. We don't want to force teachers, we don't want to force people to be online in front of a screen for long periods of time. What we want is for them to be able to engage in a moment in time learning. I want to be able to pick up my phone, look at a quick 5-minute video and get a bit of an understanding. I want to know when I'm waiting for the dinner to cook, I can quickly go through a bit of PD. I'd much prefer to have these little moments in time rather than sit through an hour on Zoom and activities online, because you're just not going to get the best from me. I think the second thing that we want to use technology for is that part of learning that's missing because we're online. And so that's the collaboration, that's the reflection, that's that kind of moment in time where, you know, you're at the water cooler and you're having a chat and you're, oh, wow, you're doing that. Tell me about it. How did that work? Oh, let me give that a try. So how can we utilize the technology that we have? And so that might be, if you're in a Microsoft school, you might have a Teams page or Teams group set up so that people can just throw down ideas. Hey, I tried this in class. Look what I did. Oh, this failed miserably. Anyone got an idea? And just get those conversations happening in that moment in time. I think we also want to be able to expand that collaboration outside of the school environment. And I think the research shows us that when teachers are connecting outside of their school environment, they have a lot higher efficacy in what they're doing. And so what we want them to do is sort of develop that culture of sharing. So going through action research within the school, connecting through PLNs, Twitter, social media, attending conferences, catching up on Zoom calls with other schools, maybe doing a teach meet, really providing opportunities for people to connect and share, because that shows them that what they're doing is something that's of value. I think it also, it opens them up for people to ask those difficult questions. Why are you doing that? How does that impact on students? And so through that conversation, we start to reflect a little bit more. So I guess in summary, using technology for micro-learning opportunities, using technology to increase that collaboration and reflection and moment in time learning, and also technology to share and expand upon their journey.
Okay, thank you. And now we have a few questions from our audience. I'd like to refer back to you, Stephen. Joanna asked, do you believe that andragogical learning skill needs a sense of human connection? Because Jay just mentioned that collaboration and human connection. So do you feel that we need this? And if so, how do you maintain a sense of connectedness in the adult learning paradigm?
Beautiful. Nicely worded question too. So I guess, again, I'll just go back to the example because we're currently the academic reading group that I have started. We're writing an article about the academic reading group and how it works. So like it's very fresh in my mind. Every Thursday we meet and we add to our article. So for us, social connection is absolutely key. I think it's relatively easy to line up some time zones and to do what we're doing now, have a small face-to-face meeting. But when you go to a little bit of a larger scale, you need to go asynchronous. So I'll give you the 3 channels that we use. We have a Twitter chat at the end of the month. So that's a live 1 hour, text-based. What do you think, based on the ideas that have come out through the discussion? The discussion, we use Flipgrid, so I'm sure most of us are aware of how that works. But the purpose is short videos responding to prompts to do with the academic article. So you get to see other people, you get to see where they're living, what they're doing. They reflect on their context. So, we have participants from France, the UK, all over the place. And so they'll sort of say, well, in France, this is how it works. And they'll explain their context first, and then they'll reflect back to the article and the topic. And then we also have a third sort of direct message group that is more social. So like the discussion that we have is typically quite, robust, quite high level, complicated, academic. And the direct message group we have is much more social and just, I had a bad week, or I'm struggling with this student, or I had this problem. I wonder if anyone can help me out. So to me, that's when PD goes a lot more formal, you miss those sort of social interactions. So to me, it's important to have the social, to have some face-to-face, however you can work that out through technology. And then also to have that kind of higher level, more professional discussion as well. So if you can try and replicate that in the same way that you would in the classroom, the teacher is presenting relatively high level content, and then the students might be having discussions themselves. And so there's the social and the professional and the face-to-face all rolled into one. So to me, that's the goal. That's what we've found to be most effective when it comes to andragogy and professional learning for adults. So great question.
Thank you so much. Now I'd like to move to Slava, and we talked a lot about peer-to-peer collaboration, and you have emphasized that we need to be very consistent. So how do you promote, or how do you see the peer-to-peer mentoring in your school supporting online or virtual PD?
Yeah, so thank you for your question. So actually, this is one of the most important aspects, because in our virtual reality or environment, so we detached, disconnected. So, and even if we are taking some PD through the playlist or watching video tutorials and teachers, as Steven said, actually, when you are talking to each other, so, and when you are sharing your experience, that makes a difference. And what actually we established at the beginning of the year, so we were connected to the Global Online Academy. So this is really interesting aspect, because they are pushing you in the small spaces with your colleagues, with your faculty members. So no more than 4 or 5. So, but you are talking all the time. You're sharing your experience, positives, negatives. You're looking at the solutions, or at least a direction where to move. So very important part in this moment. So we have also more technical savvy personnel, so at school, and as I said, less. So we're trying to attach those more technology savvy faculty members to the less savvy technology personnel. So at the same time, we're looking at the social emotional aspect and well-being, because very often, so teachers who are not technology savvy, they a little bit maybe feeling anxiety. So, and human touch and human connection with the colleague, very important. That's why, so we are promoting those conversations one-on-one. So, and also creating those pockets where these people can meet and share some questions, or look at the how to do design for the learning. And as also my colleagues were saying over here, so it's really important to concentrate on the learning. So not just concentrate on technology, as technology is only a platform. So, and the pedagogy is not going away. So, and that's where, you have to remind your faculty that, you are great teachers, you are, just doing great jobs. So just relax and, concentrate what you do the best. So, but again, so we're trying to, in different scenarios and different occasions just to connect those professionals together. So, and we promote those connections all the time. So because, without connection, so that's just not making any sense or progress in the professional development. Yeah.
Thank you. And I'd like to address this question from one of our audience members here. I don't have the name, but Pratibha, as a professional development deliverer, a trainer, do you think online PD is just a coping mechanism, or should it be looked at as a long-term goal or as a long-term thing?
Thank you. So online professional development is not a coping mechanism, I would say. One can learn so well online. In fact, from the entire world, we can get the best of PD courses. So online PD is here to stay. And we have children who are taking up courses from any country abroad. We have teachers who are taking PD courses from anywhere in the world. And I think that is the beauty of online PD courses, that you can learn from anywhere, you can learn from anyone, and you can learn anytime. So the beauty of PD courses, that if you are sitting in Singapore and you want to take a PD program from US, of course it is possible. So it's not a coping mechanism, it is here to stay. And we must encourage our teachers to take up online PD programs, and it will really help them to get the best from the world, I would say. However, looking at PD as a long-term goal, I think when things are fine, then blended learning is going to be the norm, or I can put it as blended PD. So we can have some courses that are online, and we can have some courses which are face-to-face. So I think the new normal would be a blended PD, where teachers can take up online courses. They can take up course from whoever they want, from wherever they want, whatever interests them. However, there are topics like experiential learning, skill development, life skills. So I think the future is going to be blended PD, where certain courses are going to be online, just like we had from the panel. There is going to be a Venn diagram type of thing. So in the Venn diagram, we have in the middle a common portion, which will meet the learning outcomes of the teachers, and the blended learning is going to be the new normal, or rather the blended professional development is going to be the new normal. That's a great question, and I really enjoyed answering it. Thank you.
Thank you. So Steve, now I'd like to ask you, when you do your practice, and that also addresses a question from Laura, who is attending the event. She asked if we have any articles published regarding the topic, and what parts of research or what findings inform you or you rely on to do your practice, to implement your educational practice.
Beautiful. In terms of articles, I don't know, Laura, if you can reach out. I've got many, and they're all well referenced. Both ones I've written and ones that I've read, but it's probably easier to do that digitally than to synthesize them for you here, I guess. For me, what I found most useful, and Jay's already said it, the Tpac model is a very good place to start. The problem is, I guess, when it comes to professional learning, in terms of the academic literature, there's what we know is that we don't know too much, to be honest. So like, it's almost impossible to establish a link between professional learning and student outcomes, which is what I think we would all kind of hope for it to do. Some people would say that professional learning is just for the adults and it's just for us to learn and to get better, which is good in and of itself. But since our actual work is predominantly teaching young people, you would hope that there would be some link, and that hasn't really been able to be established. There's some general ideas that we can sort of explore. To me, the stuff cognitive load theory is very useful to understand the brain and how it works, and the best theory that we have of the brain and how it works. And then moving from there, you go to multimedia cognitive load theory. So where you're looking at PowerPoints, videos, online things that you produce, trying to sort of keep the brain in mind, I guess, is the hard part. You know, everyone here, I'm sure, has made a PowerPoint. And it's very easy. The first PowerPoint always has a lot of text. It's got, if you're lucky, dot points rather than blocks of text. But, you know, multimedia cognitive load theory would tell us that we want as much as possible images, and we want, you know, we want to sort of make it as, we want to avoid redundancy, which is where you have a picture and the text and they say the same thing and it becomes a double up, or you're reading things out from a, you know, PowerPoint, or those sort of things. And I'm sure these are, you know, death by PowerPoint is something that we're all very familiar with. Death by Zoom, I guess. Maybe death by Zoom with a PowerPoint is probably the worst of the worst, because then there's no social interaction at all, but a PowerPoint as well. So yeah, there's a whole bunch of research out there. The research into online learning is a bit less clear. You can see I could go on all day, but I'll cut it off. Basically, online learning, a lot of it's done with adults, and so the work that we do with students and the work that we do leading professionals is a lot different to those. So always drawing the distinction between the research base is important, but there's a lot to read. If anyone wants to reach out, I'll send you my kind of go-to reading list where I started back in March and sort of where I've reached now. There's definitely lots of great stuff out there to read and engage with.
Thank you, Stephen. And now I'd like to go back to you, Pratibha. You mentioned experiential learning and other hands-on activities. And Stephen just mentioned you cannot make it boring or something to be sorry for. And addressing Linda's question, a part of providing opportunities to improve technology skills, what should be the priorities for the teacher who is delivering professional development? And then how topics such as experiential learning, hands-on, how can they be dealt with in a virtual, in an online situation or environment?
Okay, thank you. I think there are two questions in this. So the first is that every trainer should first find out what the needs of the trainees or the teachers are. So as I said earlier, it is important to make a gap analysis or to make a need analysis. And I could see in the chat box one question where somebody had asked that there are younger teachers and there are older teachers, and the younger teachers have different needs and the older teachers have different needs. And how do we mix all of it in our professional development programs? So, making it more relevant is the key. And when you want to make professional development more relevant, of course, you have to know the needs of your learners. So you must circulate a Google form, a Microsoft form, any other type of survey amongst the trainees, so that you really find out what their needs are, and you customize your training so as to meet their requirements. Now, even in classroom teaching learning, we do adapt and adopt technologies for different students in the class. So similarly, when we are taking up online PDs, we need to adapt and adopt different technologies that are available so as to make learning more interesting. Because when we are doing PDs, it is about learning. It is not about teaching for our trainees. So we need to keep that in mind. Talking about experiential learning or skill development that you talked of, yes, we cannot make everything online. We do need to meet our teachers, and that's where the beauty of blended PD courses is going to come. So we can't make everything online. Absolutely. Teaching is all about human touch. Teaching is all about interacting. And we would need interactions, real interactions with our teachers so as to inculcate experiential learning and skill development. Thank you.
Thank you. Jay, based on what we have been discussing and addressing Jamila's question, I'd like you to share your thoughts on how to design a professional development that encourages a wider collaboration and considers also the generational gap, looking at the various age groups in the faculties of the schools.
Yeah, I think it's a really good question. And I think what we're looking at is not only the generational gap, but also the differences between the roles in the school. Now with online PD, I think we can encourage interactions between our associate teachers, our TAs. We can have all different partnerships within the school. So I'll give you a little bit of example of what we're doing. Our PD sessions are actually sort of broken into individual learning journeys and action research. So what we've done is we went through the school development plan and pulled out 4 groups that we thought were key topic areas. So project-based learning, outdoor learning, global citizenship. These were key topic areas. And I think what the important thing is that where we're not able to come together, we allow teachers to do more independent research and study on their own. And so the PD time becomes an opportunity for teachers to come together and share that action research that they're doing. It also means that if you have a broad topic, say like global citizenship, which could be anything from focusing on sustainability, which might be a teacher's interest, to looking at how we do service in action, or how we look at connections with people in our own environments. And so you have a group of people who come under a general topic area. This is their intrinsic motivation, an interest area for them. But they can also break apart and work on those independently. So we're not leading the PD, the teachers are leading their own PD. They then bring that back and they look at how they can research that, do research in their own classroom, how they share that. And so these then start to grow. And so then, for instance, with technology, it's not a matter of saying, hey guys, we're doing training on how to use Google Doc this week. What happens is that Google Doc, like with students, becomes embedded into the task that they're doing. And so through that, we're generating opportunities to discuss around, oh, well, we're using Google Docs to share this information. How does that work? And then if there's extra PD needed, we're providing that PD to small groups of people rather than forcing the entire school to go through Google Docs professional development. So I think online learning really enables teachers to go off and do their own professional learning. And we just need to provide the tools to be able to check in, share, grow from that. And then when they come back off online learning, those PD can continue, and I think it keeps developing. So I think that it's that ability to learn and do something that interests yourself.
Thank you. Now, I'd like to share, we have 2 minutes left. It's a question that I would like to start with Slava, and then you can unmute your mic and join the conversation, which is how to leverage existing school platform to create quality virtual PD sessions. Starting with you, Slava, and then we move around the guest speakers in the next 2 minutes.
Okay, thank you, Alex. First of all, so I would recommend to everybody to attach instructional technology coaches to the conversation. So because this is a moment where you can test your learning management system at school. So I didn't see so far in schools learning management systems that is not open for some actually conversion or adding models or just development further with your vendors. So even as conservative as Microsoft, we have actually conversation with Microsoft, and they are adding and they are adjusting the systems and helping us to create this very smooth experience in the PM professional development activities. So my probably question is, don't go outside of organization, don't go outside of your learning management system, because you will confuse people. And in every learning management system, you can attach or link or embed those resources Stephen was talking about, and Pratibha and Jay as well. So, I mean, to leverage 100%, because, you know, learning management systems are not cheap. So, and sometimes, very often, we are not using even half of the features or those available resources that learning management system providing. So, yeah, so attach instruction technology coaches, take a look at the learning management system, connect with your vendor, and create the space for the professional development that everybody in your school will know, you know, that there is the resource, there's the opportunity. So, and work with that. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd love to hear Stephen, Pratibha, and Jay and your insights on this one, but we are running out of time. So I want to thank you all for the brilliant session, for all the wealth of information and knowledge you have shared with us. And I'd like to hand it back over to our host, Priti. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. This was a really fruitful discussion, and, you know, a lot of great comments came in on the live discussion tab as well. I'm sure our attendees have, you know, gained some great tips from how to proceed. And I remember Pratibha mentioning about the blended approach, which I feel is also here to stay. So with that, thank you so much for your time, and we'll be moving on to our next session now. So stay tuned with us and take time to go to our exhibition hall, which has some great technology showcases happening. Thank you so much, everyone.